As the US prepares to reinstate those sanctions on Iran, the European Union is already taking steps to try and protect its businesses there.
Absolutely, because in theory, Eve, these sanctions will actually punish companies that continue to operate in Iran. Brussels now saying it will enact a so-called blocking statute, which means that European businesses don't have to comply with those American sanctions. Now, the measure also allows companies to sue the US government within courts in the European Union in order to seek financial compensation for any lost business. The statute, which was first used back in the 1990s to shield businesses in Cuba, is most effective for small and medium-sized operations, and there is little legal precedent for those legal damages. Still, EU authorities say it's an important step to maintaining trade ties in Tehran.
What I can say is that the blocking statute, once it enters into force at 6 a.m. Our time this morning, will allow EU operators to recover damages arising from US extraterritorial sanctions from the persons causing them, and nullifies the effect in the EU of any foreign court rulings based on them. It also forbids EU persons from complying with those sanctions.
Now, the United States has rejected calls for broad-based waivers, which would allow certain sectors or corporations to continue doing business in Tehran. And many of the major European players who rushed to put down roots there in the wake of the 2015 agreement have already said that they'll pull out of Tehran in order to respect the new US measures. Catherine Clifford has a look.
A rush to get deliveries out before the US sanctions come into force. With the arrival of these 5 planes, Iran Air has received 13 of the 20 it ordered from French-Italian manufacturer ATR in April 2017. But Airbus has had to cancel the €16.5 billion contract to sell as many as 100 new planes to Iran Air, with 10% of jet parts coming from the US. It's one of multiple businesses pulling out of Iran. French company Total is scrapping the billion-dollar deal it made with both Iran and the Chinese company CNCP to develop natural gas fields in the country. Meanwhile, Danish shipping company AP Moller-Maersk announced it would no longer ship Iranian oil. French car manufacturer Peugeot said it was also preparing to suspend activities there. Last year, PSA Group sold more than 445,000 vehicles in Iran, making the country one of its biggest markets outside France. And it doesn't currently market in the US. German company Siemens, which produces a variety of healthcare, industry and energy products, announced it would no longer take new orders from Iran. Meanwhile, certain companies are holding firm. French car maker Renault, which doesn't sell to the US, has said it will remain in Iran despite the sanctions, albeit scaling back activities there by around 10%. Germany's Volkswagen only recently entered the Iranian market. It's not announced whether it will exit or remain, though the scale of its US activities could apply pressure.